Welcome to the Collective Genius Podcast, the show for real estate investors who are looking to scale.
Welcome back into the Collective Genius Podcast. I am your host, Leon Barnes, and this is the podcast where real estate investors come to grow and scale their businesses. Every week, I get an opportunity to talk to Collective Genius members. So who has it better than me? I can't think of anyone. And today, we continue that with another weekly guest, another CG, longtime now CG member, believe it or not, longtime member. I know you're looking at me going, oh, I have been in here for a while. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Chad Young. Welcome in, my friend.
Thanks for having me, Leon. I'm pumped for today, man.
Good. I enjoy our conversations always. You always bring a ton of energy, and there's always some random that comes from you. So I'm looking for something random from you today. Why don't we start off with less random and start with exactly where you're based and where you do business and what type of business that you do, Chad?
Yes. So I am actually based in Post Falls, Idaho. So we're in the really skinny panhandle of Idaho, right in between Montana and Washington. And our main market is actually across the border in Spokane. It's always weird to tell people this. I live in Idaho. 80% of the business we do is actually in another state, which is Washington, but it's 10 minutes that way. So yep, in the Coeur d'Alene, Idaho and Spokane, Washington markets. And we predominantly do wholesaling with a large emphasis on flipping. We flip about a third of the properties that we buy, keep some as rentals, and then we wholesale the rest. And we're also getting into some really fun new projects with land development, new construction. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean,
The
a
evolution
lot
of real
more
estate
to that,
investor.
but that's a 30,000 foot view. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
evolution,
It's a healthy
right?
evolution.
You're starting off with flipping, getting into wholesale, maybe some hotel, maybe some novations, starting to diversify exit strategies, and then look at new asset classes as you continue to grow. I've seen that from you, that growth I've seen. I am bearing witness to someone that puts in the work. You understand the concept of others. You can learn from others. And if others can do it, so can you. I think that's your superpower, my friend, is that you know that if someone else could do something, so can you and your team. Where does that come from?
Oh, I appreciate that, man, because that is literally from early as I can remember been a mentality I have. Like, as long as there's proof of concept, you've literally just seen somebody else do it. I don't know. I've always been a super competitive person by nature, was never into sports or anything like that. But I was very competitive, I think, with myself. I'm always wanting to do better in whether it's health or fitness or relationships or learning. I just have that insatiable desire to grow. And along with that tends to come goal setting. And with goal setting tends to come a focus on what people have done and what could be possible. And so I have just always told myself, and I've told our team and anyone I can surround myself, if somebody else has done it, you can do it. That's proof. It's absolute proof. And there's a lot of people in this industry that have done it and show you how to do it. So that's like the cheat code, like CG.
The cheat code is indeed seeing other. I'm witness to that as well. And actually, an example of it, 11 years ago when I joined this group and entered the room and people were doing a couple hundred flips and I was, just managing 50 a year at that time. And I'm thinking to myself, wow. This is that Roger Bannister moment where it is possible for the human heart to run under a 4-minute mile, right? And so if they can do it, it doesn't, wasn't even thinking about a couple hundred. I was just thinking about, I can definitely do 100 if they can do 200.
Yeah, exactly. And then, to speak to that Roger Bannister, I can't remember the exact number, but it was something like 40 or 50 people over the next year broke that 4-minute mile.
Right.
Like they just needed proof that it could be done. And then everybody, it's just,
all mental.
I'm glad you pulled that example and that's 100% accurate.
It's all mental, man. If you see it, you can believe it and then you can achieve it. That sounds, I know, very corny, but that is, if you live your life with that confidence that anyone else can do something, that so can you. But you also have to have that competitive drive to what you said. When you started with this, within the Collective Genius, I love the success stories. I think you're one now, Chad, of 50 that have promoted from select to premier.
Cool.
For those listening, the differences between the two groups is the premier level group is the group that's been around for 15 years. It's the originator, it's the OG of our tier system, and you have to do at least $2 million of gross revenue, gross profit specifically, or you have to do over 100 deals. And most people, if you're doing over 100 deals, you're doing 2 million, or have
Better.
a specific team size. Yeah, I hope so. And then the select level was a group that we started, almost 5 years ago now, believe it or not. It's been almost 5 years. It'll be 5 years in December when we started that group. Those are for, the people that have been usually in the business 3 to 5 years and are doing between usually 30 and 100 transactions and $500,000 to $2 million of revenue. And you were one of the people that I knew early on, like he's not going to be at this level long, especially one way that I can see when someone is ready, it's actually two. Number one, their team, they've got an organization. I hear typically from Sharper saying, "Hey, he's ready. His team is firing all on all cylinders, and they're ready to go to the next level." That's one. And then the second one is the type of value that they give to the community. I can't even count how many of the belts that you've won for Go Giver awards at our meetings. But I think you won a couple at the select levels. Like, there's no way that this guy isn't ready for the next level because I continue to see him on stage with me getting belts. I mean, that's to your credit. You had to have the competitiveness. You had to go and do the things, but you've obviously done all of those to get to where you are today.
Yeah, yeah, it's been a blast and going through that evolution of you guys must have been so good at marketing to get me, okay, and I don't say to get me in, but like I say that chronologically, like I've been in CG almost 5 years now, so
Mm-hmm.
it had to have been right when you guys started Select, that somehow I saw your guys' marketing message and got in there, and man, am I grateful that I got in 5 years ago. But yeah, I remember going to the first meeting and it was, gosh, it couldn't have been more than like 30, maybe 40 people total in the meeting. I mean, it was all like one room at that point. And man, the amount of knowledge, I literally remember I went to the very first meeting I ever went to. I heard a guy present, and that one thing we implemented in our business, and it made us $250,000 that next year. Like it
Wow.
was, and I was just like, what was just unleashed to me? So it was,
You remember what that was?
I do. It was Carson Demick.
Yeah.
So he presented on how he did like $1 million or something in wholesale revenue for free. And his strategy was to go into, you add yourself to all like the buy, sell, trade, shop and swap style Facebook groups in your area. And so we implemented it and we went in and added ourselves like 70 or 80 of these groups. And then you post this like really clickbaity picture of just a disgusting looking kitchen. It would like no verbiage or anything like that. And then it gets people to click into it. And on the inside, you just have some text that's like, "Hey, I'm just a local investor looking to buy a couple more flips like this that I can rehab and return to the affordable housing pool." And so, but I mean, systematically, you do 3 posts a week in 80 groups in your 240 posts a week
Mm-hmm.
or something. How many tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people are seeing that? And I think we got 3 deals that year from doing that. It's completely free. And they just so happened to all be whammy deals. And so it was, we don't even do that anymore. And like, you could still do that. We just stopped because we got lazy. But,
Yeah.
those
Probably
little
moved
things
on to other strategies.
we did. Yeah. Yeah. Strategies that don't take you posting 240 times a week.
So
So,
almost 5 years ago, you entered this room. What does your business look like then? I mean, you started this,
yeah.
around a couple years before you joined CG. So what did the business look like at that point?
I don't even think it was that. So I got my first contract March of 2020. So it was 5.5 years ago. And then I think within a year, less than a year, I
Even
was
a year
into,
later. That's right.
yeah, a year later. So I was
I think
into,
May of
um,
2021 is when you joined.
yeah, okay, yeah. So just over a year, is when I got in, and man, I felt like I was the biggest poser ever because I think at that time it was like you had to be doing 50 deals a year ish to get into Collective Genius, and I was right at that threshold. I was maybe doing like 3 to 4 a month. Had not fully cycled a whole year of doing 50 deals yet, but I was on that trajectory. And at that point, I would have had me and one employee and one VA. It was small, man, compared to what we are now. It's very manageable.
So what does it look like now?
Yeah, times 10 almost everything. So we have 21 employees. We have um and those are all like we do have 6 overseas staff and then 15 that are in-house, but they're all employees of us. No one's like a contractor. Um Obviously we employ dozens of contractors for our flips, but and then we're doing our average month right now is between 25 and 30 houses that we get under contract, and we close about 85% of those.
Mm.
And so whatever that number ends up shaking, mid 20s. So
This is a question, Chad. I don't think I've asked anyone on the pod before. I want to get into your journey, but I really would be remiss if I didn't ask this follow-up. What has that meant to you, your team, your family? That's it. I mean, we're talking 20 additional in a less than a 5-year time frame. You've grown by 20 deals a month, and obviously the revenue is the revenue that comes with that. It's a big number as well, but just what does that mean to you, your family, and your business?
yeah, so the revenue, to be totally honest, you can make $1 million a year like net with you and 1 or 2 people. You're doing a lot of the work and you have so many points of failure, like single points of failure and stuff like that. So I mean, the revenue aside, we're still making phenomenal revenue. Don't get me wrong, like we are so blessed to make what we bless or make what we make. But that aside, your quality of life isn't much different making $250,000 a year or $1.5 million a year. Like you're still taking all the trips you want to, you eat whatever you want, you hire the same coaches. So quality of life is not much different. Where I have really, really seen an incredible benefit is being able to build the team I wanted to build. I've always wanted to build. I owned a janitorial company prior to real estate investing. And one of the biggest things that I didn't like about that company is you couldn't form a good culture. There was no central hub. You weren't coming to work with people in one location. You're working nights. It's all scattered. You can't keep people for long amounts of time. Opposite of that in this industry. So we have super high retention, over 90% retention in our company. And then we have 15 people that are in a brick and mortar building that I get to come in and be with on a daily basis. And I love being with them. And they're one of the cool, I have a business coach and he always says that he's a culture engineer and a business architect. And I love how he phrases that, a culture engineer, because it's something that we have been able to do is engineer the culture we want and bring on and raise up leaders in the type of team we want. And it has been one of the biggest honors of my life to be with the people I am with on a daily basis. They're my absolute family here, and we laugh a lot. We have a lot of fun, and I am able to provide for 20 people's families. Like that is an absolute honor. And even more than the provision, like give them a job they look forward to coming into with people they love interacting with. I can't tell you the amount of people we've brought on where they're just like, I've never been in a place where like I wanted to come to work every day and I enjoyed all the people that I get to work with. It's a feeling that's almost second to none. It really, really is an absolute blast.
It's a special place to be, Chad.
Hmm.
What you've developed there, and I want to make sure that we dive into that a little bit. What you've developed is, a happy place for all, right? You've 90% retention. People, I'm sure, are knocking down your doors to apply because they've heard from people that's referrals that are working for you currently that the culture that you've built. I want to I want to really break this down to the time frame in which it took you to get there, though, right? You had a vision, which is is the key point.
Yeah.
You knew what you wanted it to look like. But for those listening saying, hey, team has been the biggest issue for me, and I just don't love my team. I don't love the culture of my team. And obviously that's upon the leader to develop that. You had the vision.
100%.
How long did it take you to get to this point? Because I know it didn't happen overnight.
Yeah, it definitely didn't. We have been very blessed. From our very first employee, we hired people that before I ever hired an employee, I developed a mission, a vision, and core values.
On your
It
own?
was just Yeah, it was something. I mean, I'm one of those weird freaks that like enjoys reading business books since I was like 16, and prior military, and like their credences and their core values and things like it really resonates with me when you have a filtered set of like lenses that you view everything through. And so from the beginning, we've been able to onboard people that are nothing short of amazing. The thing that I will say that took longevity is being able, and I'm talking like probably 3 to 4 years, and we got really hyper focused on it this last year, was being able to weed out people on the team that weren't culture fits or weren't leveling up the entire organization. And that's where stuff honestly got harder, more worth it, and more profitable. And so it wasn't until I hired my current business coach that we really started to see some of those big shifts. And it's a painful process, so incredibly worth it. So incredibly worth it.
May I ask you, have you altered that original core values and the culture that you wanted within your team? How much has that altered since that original?
Yeah, it's probably 80% the same and 20% different. And I say that in the sense that as the business has grown, we've kind of chose to put a little bit more words on values that have already existed, but maybe were not expressed verbally. And so we're just kind of basically putting skin on things that were already there. They were just implied, maybe not actually written down. And some things like we had a really long mission statement. We basically condensed our mission statement now to improving lives and transforming communities. So we've gotten more hyper focused on stuff, and honestly, I think the biggest thing we have done, and I never ever ever see businesses do this, but we did it at the suggestion of our business coach. We defined things, and so we have these 5 core values, and our first core value is humility. And I remember my business coach, his name's Levi, and Levi was like, "What's humility mean to you?" And I kind of gave him my broad definition of valuing other people above yourself, and not thinking of yourself too highly, always being able to learn. And he's like, "Do all of your employees have the same definition of that?" And I was like, "No." And so we actually put verbiage on all of our stuff. And so like our 5 core values now, it's here's humility. This is what it means. We take extreme mindset over our minds, or we take extreme ownership of our mindset, actions, and outcomes, believing we are never the smartest person in the room and that there's always room for improvement. And what we found is it makes what I would say coaching opportunities, or those types of coaching opportunities you get with your staff when they're maybe not meeting expectations, it makes them 10 times easier because it's defined. And it's, hey, an observation I've seen is that you're maybe not taking ownership of some outcomes that have happened from you. Let's talk about that. Let me know where this is coming from. Where if it's just like, hey, you're not being humble. I mean, that would hurt. That would sting. But when you're defining it and you're bringing this revelation to people of this is what our organization says this word means to us, and this is why it's so important to us. Yeah. Here's where we might see a misalignment. Let's talk about that. It's a way better conversation to have with somebody.
I love how it sets the tone. The first core value sets the tone for the entire organization. Like,
Yeah.
Look back to number 1. If you are down here at 3 and 4 and questioning things, go back to number 1, which is take the time to be humble, to understand that you are not, none of us are perfect. We're going to make mistakes and we're going to have opportunities, and to be coachable. That's really what that is an opportunity for coaching and being coachable. I asked that question specifically, Chad, because people think in this business that, my core values are set in stone and my mission statement is set in stone. And it's very common to take a long mission statement when you first start out and each year in your planning sessions continue to reiterate it, and usually it gets shorter and shorter and shorter. I don't think I've heard someone define the core values with the entire team. And I would say that is a team exercise. So everyone, like you said, is on the same page. And it's no wonder that you have such high retention, because everyone's bought in. They know the core values, and they are all clearly defined. There's no one that is specifically seeing those words and thinking something different, because it's right there. we're all aligned. I love it. Um,
Yeah.
do you think that this culture in this business, you got here faster because of your previous experience, the 7 years I believe that you spent doing janitorial services, because you had such, people cleaning all these buildings, they never teamed up. You never had the opportunity to build culture because of the not having an office. You think that kicked this in another gear for you?
It did. It definitely being able to do what I've always desired to do. It was almost like you had all this pent up like ability and pent up desire. And it like all culminated when we started hiring people and bringing them in house. And then it's like you get to do team lunches and you get to bring in coaches for people and you get to invest into people. And then it just like takes off like a rocket ship. It was absolutely I would say the in office experience and bringing it to a field where people are looking for a career, not just transitory work. I would say that absolutely made the world of difference. And having a lot of like systems and process, like we sold our janitorial company. It was very, we had management in place. There were systems and processes. So that component massively helped us be able to set up the next job. Like from day one, I was like, okay, I just wholesale the property or I flipped the property. I'm going to document every single thing that I did so that I can go back and find out where I can do it better next time. And so a lot of those things transition. Business is just a language. It's just a little bit different in each industry or each sector that you're in. So, but it's all same stuff.
Unfortunately, most entrepreneurs just assume people when they hire somebody for something, they expect that they know everything out of the gates. Or
Yeah.
if they verbally tell them once, what you just said there, if you take nothing else from this pod, just take exactly what Chad just gave you. If you do something at a high level, and generally the entrepreneur is the best salesperson, and you hire salespeople and you just let them go, and you haven't given them your defined core process that make you successful, then they're probably going to fail. And if they don't fail, they're an outlier because they were able to tread water where most people aren't able to do that. You're the best salesperson. Teach them a fundamental process to make sure that they are not only as good as you, but potentially better because they have a defined process.
Yeah. Yeah. If you want to get the most stressed out you've ever been in your life, hire phenomenal salespeople and don't give them guidelines or bumpers. Watch your business explode and your personal stress level crumble. It's
Well said. Well said. Is there a secret to finding your core fits? Where have you found most of these great employees that fit your culture? Because that is something that, there's really about 5 things that people that are scaling a business need help with. And generally, operations, which includes hiring, onboarding, developing, that's all a piece. That's for every business. That's sports. That's businesses. People are the lifeblood of the organization. Where are you finding yours?
Yeah, most of our employees have been, it's probably 50-50 between like word of mouth. We know somebody who knows somebody, or like an employee tell somebody about our position. And then an Indeed post. We have not even had to go outside of Indeed we've never gone to like ZipRecruiter or WiseHire or any of those because we've always had a really big funnel from Indeed. And one of the things I love about our business is I love the marketing aspect. And we treat the onboarding funnel for an employee no different than our TV or our direct mail or things like that. You just create a huge funnel. And so we'll get a couple hundred applicants usually over like 10 to 14 days. And we have a process that sends them an email, and it's a 4-step process. And the very first thing we do is we send them an intro email that's like, hey, thanks for taking the time to apply. You should know that this 4-step process is going to stretch you outside of your comfort zone. And we do that intentionally because we need people who are willing to go outside their comfort zone and grow because it's a part of our business. And then we're like, if you want to see what our culture looks like, click on this link. And we had a professional filmographer come in here and or videographer and do a whole series. It's like a 5-minute video on what it means to work at the Easy Home Buyer. What do we do on a daily basis? What things drive us? What is our mission, our vision? What do we like to do for fun? And so that's been a big component. And then it's the harder it is to get into the company, the more retention you're going to have and the less people are going to want to leave. And so our 4-step process is they watch that video. That's not even one of the steps. They have to fill out a Google form, and we ask them a bunch of questions that are very, very telling. Like, What are you really, really good at in this field? Next question, what are you not good at or not interested in doing? And you'd be so shocked. We've had salespeople apply that are for acquisitions roles, and they answer the question, what are you not interested in doing? They're like, I don't want to go in people's homes. And I'm like, boom, delete. Like it automatically weeds out a good chunk of people. Um, then they have to do the predictive index, personality or behavioral assessment, a cognitive test, and then send us a 2 to 5 minute video telling them about ourselves. So we already have, I would say, a 90% picture of what that person is like as a human, as their values, things like that, from never even talking to them. And then we do a virtual interview, and then it goes to an in-person interview. So it's a lengthy process these people go through.
Well, and look at the process as you explain it, as you're mentioning it here. All I can think about is the prospect on the other side that really was applying for this job, but didn't know if this was the right fit for them. They are now getting all of this from you, and they're going, man, this is a legit company. We all in this industry face, whether it's realtor or it's other people that are like, yeah, I don't know if that's a legit business or not. They're kind of scammy because they send postcards and those type of things. Everyone that's going through your interview process that is serious about working in this industry are impressed. There's no doubt in my mind based upon that process that you guys have and there's no wonder that you're hiring that level of talent. There's also, for me, when it comes to, being impressed with, someone's business, but also in our community. So since you've been a part of this group, Chad, if I had to look at an investor that became a member of the Collective Genius and is doing it the right way, you would be up on top of that list. And what I mean by that is you come in, you give a tremendous amount of value. You're always on stage. If Brian or myself or anyone asks you to do a presentation because we know someone told us that you're really good at this or really good at that, you automatically jump up there, whether it's you by yourself or going up there with Amanda Dean or anybody else. You're always bringing tremendous value. And I can't tell you how often I hear your name brought up where someone will say, yeah, I talked to Chad Young about that. I talked to Chad Young about that. So clearly you have a lot of friends within this group as well. Like the relationships that you build, from day one, you were always in pictures at dinners. Will you give that formula of is this something that you said, hey, I'm going to go in here and give as much value as I can, make as many relationships? How did you approach this community?
Yeah, that's a good question. I haven't really pondered a ton about that. I mean, it kind of goes back to that very first presentation I saw with Carson Demick, and I was literally like, man, if what I just learned from that guy could make me that one thing that I implemented could make me $250,000 more, I was like, what do I have that I can share that can do the exact same thing for people? And I personally believe in a marriage and any type of relationship, friendships, coworkers, things like that. It always has to be a give-give relationship. If you have a take-take, it's toxic. If you have a give-take, it's toxic. And so I've always been one of the people that um, I feel like the gifts and abilities and even the things you've learned in life are truly like a gift that God's giving you to steward and bless other people with. And so there's obviously going to be some proprietary stuff that you always keep within a business, but if it's not that proprietary stuff, like give it to the world. Like we used to teach people here locally to do exactly what we did. We're like, here's our playbook, just go do this. But in Collective Genius specifically, um, you can probably relate to this, Leon, but it's really unique to make $100,000 in a month. Like, and I'm talking like net, like you put that in the bank, and I can't go to people that I'm friends with here and be like, dude, I just had the coolest thing happen. Dropped 100 grand in my, like, I can't do that. My friends aren't making that. It would portray an image of me I don't want to. It could make them feel less than. It's such a unique opportunity to go into Collective Genius and find guys and gals that you really, really connect with and relate with. And you can call them and be like, dude, I just flipped a house and made $150,000. Or I just hired a previous COO of the biggest construction company in our area. Like, I can go to those people and they will celebrate with me and not feel less than. And the amount man, I think of guys like Ryan Weimer and Tim McGarvey and Josh Short. These are guys that great friends of mine, and I can call them and just be like, dude, I am like hung up on this part of a transaction. How do you do this? And they just tell me. And then I get a text from them 2 days later, and it's like, hey, when you did mail, like, what did you do to get this? And it's just such a like symbiotic, awesome relationship of giving and giving and giving and giving. And everybody gets better because of that. And it's like, why wouldn't you want to be a part of that? It's so much fun.
My wife and I made this rule recently that when it comes to new couples that, are coming into our lives, at this phase, I'm 48 years old. You have basically your friend group, and this is going somewhere, I promise. We have this rule is that, we will hang out with people that talk about experiences and not people, right? Because you know what type
Yeah.
of person that you're dealing with. And I feel the same way about this community that I've been a part of for 11 years is I know that when I'm talking to other entrepreneurs that are in this space, we're going to be real about what our current struggles are, but we're also going to share all the things that are working for us and applaud each other, our experiences. We're not going to talk bad about anything. That we're just going to help, and we're going to and applaud. I can't tell you how proud I am when I get a text message every single month from multiple saying, I just had my best month ever. Earlier this year, I got a text from a person that's been in this business for a very long time. Just said, I just did 100 deals for the very first time in a month. That same person just sent me a text and said, hey, I just did 1.2 in gross this month. Right? Those are, like,
Yeah.
again, you can't say that, with your number one core value being
Yeah.
humble. You can't say that to your neighbor, right? You don't want to necessarily say that. You want to remain humble, but you can say it to us because we're going to celebrate it with you.
Yeah.
And I think that's the power of this tribe. We get you and you get us.
hmm Yeah, I couldn't echo that more. And it's I'm just not involved at a local level. I know there's like Abundance and like YPN and there's other networking things you can do at more of a local level, and I'm just not into those things. And I also there's not really anyone else in our market doing scale like we are. And so even if I found like that one other person in our market doing scale, they're probably my competitor. I'm not going to go and be like, hey, I just did all these things and woohoo to my horn. But I mean, like, I had a friend from CG text me this morning, and before I was eating up, and he's like, hey man, just had my acquisitions guy put in his 2 weeks notice, like just absolutely sucks for my business. And I was like, one, I'm praying for you. I know that sucks. Been there. And two, what resources, how can I help? Do you want job postings? Do you want compensation plans? Like, what can I do to help you expedite this process? Yeah.
I've
And
heard
that's the power of the community.
stories. I've heard stories where one investor, I think it was Ryan Berry that was telling me the story from Ohio, that an investor's acquisitions person was leaving that state and wasn't going to work remotely for his. And so he reached out to this individual in Ohio and said, hey, I've got a guy that's really good. He's moving this way. And he's not going to work for me anymore. And he's a rock star for me. So,
Yeah.
and so those type of situations, that's not happening every day. But those
Yeah.
are the type of what does happen every day are those type of text messages that you just
Yeah.
mentioned. What are you most excited about in your business right now?
Yeah. I'm most excited about I feel like since over this last year, we've hired leadership coaches for all of our executive team. So we all have individual coaches.
Awesome,
And
by the way.
it's been game changing for our company. Like I realize one, I'm not the greatest leader, bar none. There are people far better at me than this. And two, I also don't always have the bandwidth. Even if I did have a good ability to have a leadership conversation with somebody, I'm limited. I'm one person. And so, and I'm still involved in a lot of like um, not crazy involved in the day to day, but like there's a lot that I'm doing in the company to prep us for the next stages and levels. But what I'm super excited about is seeing the fruit that has come from our management team. And not only our management team, because even on like we developed a learning plan for our company that's an annual plan, and we're bringing in speakers on a quarterly basis that are just handling like leadership or conflict resolution or communication, or they come in and teach all these things. And just seeing our staff level up and our leadership team level up has been amazing. And I remember you talked about Sharper. I remember Gary and Susan. This was probably about a year ago. They did one of our quarterlies and they came out and they said, operationally, you guys are sound. Like you guys have your stuff dialed. They said, what will stop you from getting to the next level is leadership. And I took them so seriously. And days later, I was trying to find leadership coaches and I found our first one a week later. And then I found another one and we started divvying it up among the team. And seeing these people grow has been unbelievable. Seeing myself grow. It's funny when you hire a leadership coach, you quickly realize how poor of a leader you are. And so seeing my change and evolution has been fun to witness. And those things pour over into every aspect of your life. But with the change in leadership and the growth, I'm really excited for just the next couple chapters of our business with more new construction, with more land development, with doing more of that. And it just seems like we're attracting larger and different deals that are super fun. Like we just bought, we've never really done any small multifamily past like 2 and 3 plexes. And we just bought a 12 plex this last month. And we bought a food truck court this last month. And we're splitting off land to build 2 duplexes. And we bought 50 acres. And that was all in the last month. And so seeing those, like the next level of deals that we can do, never done a $200,000 deal for a single deal. We've done some that were close. We have like 4 in our hopper right now that are all 200 plus. And it's like, where are these coming from, God? And it's just the natural evolution of getting better at what you do and having like that food truck court. I had multiple investors call me when I posted that we bought it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that guy called me, and I had no idea what to do with it, so I just didn't even do anything." And I'm like, "That's like a $350,000 profit deal. Like, what? You fill the spots and then you sell it through a realtor. Like, it's not that hard."
Right.
And so, but it's those things that you start to see as you're in it longer, and it just opens up more opportunity, and it's just getting more and more fun.
Well, you wouldn't have seen those 3, 4 years ago.
No.
What you're most excited about is also what makes you look forward in your employees coming to work, right? You are leveling up yourself as a leader and understanding and being humble that you are not the leader that you need to be today. And you definitely aren't the leader that you need to be tomorrow, but you're working on it. The same thing goes for your team. Like, there's a lot of secret sauce that goes in. This is not rocket science by any means, but the true definition of scale is not scaling yourself, it's scaling your team.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way that you successfully get into a point of graduation like you have. Like where it comes from, Chad, is you put out a lot of good, you give a lot of great energy, passion, not only to your team, but when you're, like I mentioned earlier, when you come to the group, you're trying to help other people. And I always believe that great things come to great people, and it's just a natural evolution. Those things don't happen if you're not pouring into your team, because I guarantee you some of that stuff is coming from them looking at it and going, "Hey, Chad, you've leveled me up. Why are we not looking?" And they're challenging you because you continue to pour into them. And that is, it shouldn't be secret sauce, but the next wave that I'm seeing of leaders in this space, specifically at the premier level, are people like yourself that are developing other leaders and understanding that the only way that you level up is to level them up. And for whatever reason in this industry, that hasn't been the playbook. But that's the playbook for every other big corporation.
It is, yeah.
But for us, it's not. And I'm not sure why that happened. And maybe it was just most people were running this not as a business. They were running it as this real estate hustle, where now you're starting to see young leaders like yourself say, "This is not about me. If I can level them up, I get everything I want, and they get more than they ever expected."
Yeah, and I totally agree. And I think you nailed it on the head. You can relatively easily, with enough sales skills and hustle, get into this and make good money. And then you can kind of, that almost becomes a crutch in and of itself. And you're like, why would I need to develop people or hire or put systems and processes? I can make all this in. It does not help seeing guys on beaches be like, "I'm wholesaling 10 deals a month." Like, that doesn't really exist. Like, that's actually, that doesn't really exist. But I think we live in such a society where we want the easiest path of least resistance and the easiest route to get places. And it's very much a how can I get me in mind society. And it's really like growing a business, growing a team, growing a family has nothing to do with you. It's how you can invest in the other people and make them better versions of themselves. And then it explodes. It's just amazing.
Yeah, you are what's right about our industry. Like, to your point, there's a lot that's wrong with any industry, but specifically for us, you see less of this today, but especially in 2020 and 21, when institutions were buying anything you could put under contract. We saw a lot of Lambos. We saw a lot of ties. We saw a lot of the things that, unfortunately, this industry can be known for. But you are what's right. Like, you are developing a business. If I had to put my finger on exactly what we look for in our tribe of collective genius, over 500 members, I can't tell you everyone is like that, but everyone is working toward running an actual business like yourself, where you're serving not only your team, but you're serving your community. And it's gotten to a point where you're not only making the communities better one house at a time. Now you're starting to develop and develop affordable housing in an area, quite frankly, with Coeur d'Alene and Spokane that, from a cost of living standpoint is not cheap, right? Yeah. So there's an actual service there. And so it's just a full circle where you've created this business with leaders getting what they want as employees, but also giving back to the community, dude. You're a model for what we look for in this community.
I appreciate it, man. It's been an incredibly humbling and rewarding experience to come into the community and find like-minded people that you can just connect with and share in the struggles, and I would say cry together, but I don't really cry, but like sharing all the hardships and rejoice in all the absolute blessings that we get to do in this business. There's no other business that you can do where and don't get me wrong, some days are the most stressful thing I've ever gone through. And then other days it feels like you're playing Monopoly while simultaneously improving entire neighborhoods. And it's like, that's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
Well, you can be stressed out building something special on your own, or you can be stressed out building something for someone else. And, our tribe of people here at the Collective Genius are people that say, you know what, there are going to be days that are better than others, but at least I'm doing something for myself, for my family, for my team, for my community, and I'm in charge of it, which, it takes more. Not everybody is wired that way, and I'm so thankful people like yourself are. If people wanted to get hold of you, are you doing anything? Where would they follow you? You've got some great social media. Where do people follow you at?
Yeah, social has been one of those things that we just recently started pouring into. I believe it's at Chad Young ID, like Idaho, for my Instagram. Couldn't tell you what my Facebook is. But yeah, at Chad Young ID, you can follow me, and we pump out some fun content. Shoot me messages. I'm usually pretty quick to respond to stuff. So,
well, Chad, it's been a pleasure as always. Thank you for sharing your story. You gave a lot here. Obviously, there's a lot of takeaways. We'll make sure that your Instagram gets into the show notes, and obviously, there's plenty of information here that if you listen to you want to reach out to Chad. I can tell you this. He is a true go-giver, and really appreciate your time here today, Chad.
Thanks, Leon. It's been a blast, man. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, if you would love to be in a room with members like Chad Young, and I can tell you this, it's definitely beneficial if you're looking to grow a business after listening to what he just said. Plus, how many belts have you won now, Chad?
Between the two of them, 6.
6 belts, but who's counting, right? 6, and that might be up there as. Yeah, you get to 10, we might have to get you a special 10.
Dude, let's just do rings after that. They're way easier to bring back on the plane. I can't tell you how many times I brought that. I don't even bring them back anymore. I just take a picture and give it back, because every time it goes through the x-ray, and then the guy's like, what the heck? And I'm like, I wrestle. What can I tell you?
Yeah. I can tell you that said no one ever, other than someone that's won the belt 6 times, right? You're like, I just take a picture with it and let it go. People that have won it for the first time, they're taking that baby home with them. So again, congrats, and look forward to the next belt winning presentation, which I'm sure will be in the very near future. Again, if you'd like to be in the room with members like Chad Young, easiest way to do that is go to explorecg.com. There you'll find all the information that you need on all of our tiers. If you're a full-time real estate investor, we have a tier for you. And if it's a good fit, we'll let you know what the next steps are. Again, explorecg.com. That's it for this week. Chad, much appreciated again, my friend. We will see you next week on the Collective Genius Podcast.
Thanks, Liam.
New episodes every week. To learn more, visit explorecg.com, where real estate investors come to scale.